All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everybody, depending on where you are joining us from. This is the game design workshop named Complete Guide to Design Fun E-Learning Games. My name is Damien and I'm very happy to be back at the Adobe eLearning World online conference. I am connecting from Belgium. I am the founder of Want2Learn.online. Want2Learn is a Belgian-based company that provides training material aimed at e-learning professionals. So we are still working on the platform. It's not completely there yet, but stay tuned. We will very soon launch the service. And we will give you access to a wealth of new training materials aimed at e-learning professionals. And that, of course, will include courses on Adobe Captivate and Adobe Captivate Prime. I'm also an author for LinkedIn Learning. I have authored 30 plus courses in their French-speaking catalog. I'm an author for ENI Editions. ENI is a French publisher. I have authored one book for them. And finally, I'm also an author for Pact Publishing. I have written 7 books, I think, so far in English for Pact. And the last 2 are present here on the slide. Mastering Adobe Captivate 2019 that I have co-authored with my dear friend, Dr. Pooja Jaising. And also a brand new book, which is just about to be released on Captivate Prime LMS. I think that one is the first ever book to document Captivate Prime. I hope you like it, and I hope it will help you get the most out of Captivate Prime LMS. How to find me? You can find me on LinkedIn. You have the address here of my LinkedIn profile, and also on my website, Want2Learn.online. It's already up, and you will find on the site a contact form. You can fill the form, and it will reach my inbox, and I will be very happy to read your message and to contact you back and pursue the conversation either by email or by any other means that we have available nowadays. Okay, so what's up for today? Well, today we are going to build a project together. It's going to be a project with 2 math games for children, and in this project we will include some game design elements. And the first game design element that I thought about is the graphic design, because these games will be the target audience of these games are children. So we need the game to be appealing. We need to use vivid colors. We need to use engaging graphics. So that is an important aspect of the game. We also have to create interactions, because a game is a highly interactive project. So we will need to build that advanced interaction using the tools of Adobe Captivate. We will use the drag and drop interaction, which is one of the children's favorite and one of the best interaction, in my opinion, one of the most engaging interaction. Learners like this interaction very much. We will also build interactions using other features of Adobe Captivate. A game also needs a scoring system, so we need to keep track of the score. We need to show the score to the gamer. We need to show how the score evolves. That is to keep the learner engaged and make the game more exciting and more challenging. We need to show the score. So we will build a scoring system using advanced actions and variables in Captivate. 4, we will add a touch of randomness. So that is to make the game even more exciting and to make the game less predictable. So each time the user plays the game, it's going to be a little different. Unfortunately, we don't have any random generator in Captivate out of the box, so we'll have to build our own using JavaScript. So we will add a little touch of JavaScript there. So don't worry if you are not into JavaScript. It will be a simple matter of copy pasting a few lines of code that are ready for you, and the JavaScript code that we will need is also included in the download associated with this session. So you will have access to that JavaScript code even if you are not into JavaScript. Another interesting aspect is audio design. I think audio design is important for a game. It adds an extra dimension to the game. It helps creating that environment in which the user is immersed when playing. And finally, easy navigation, but I could have called it make the game easy, because the goal here is to play. The goal is to have fun. So you need to design a game that has no learning curve. The user must be able to play directly without learning how the game works. That's what basically it means here. So let's leave the PowerPoint because we have a lot to cover and go into Captivate directly. So here in Captivate, I have two files open at the moment: the Math Games Start and the Math Games End files. I am currently on the Math Game End. Just to show you the final result, so I will show you what we are aiming at. So I open the file, I go to Preview, HTML5 in browser. So Captivate generates here an HTML5 version of that game and shows you that HTML5 version here in the web browser. So we have a first slide, which is very simple with just a few animations, a button, get started. So here we have another slide, choose your game. We have two games in here, fun with odd and even numbers, fun with additions, as well as an exit button here that would go to the last slide of the project. And the last slide of the project is just saying thanks for playing with us. So we won't click that button here. Instead, we will go to fun with odd and even numbers. There we go. So here we have a game which is based on a drag and drop interaction. We have numbers here, 20 numbers, and we need to drag the odd numbers up there, the even numbers here in the middle. And you see that we have a score of 0 at the moment, and we have 20 attempts, and we haven't attempted anything yet. So the attempts are at 0. Now let's take an odd number, for example, 19 here, and I will place that number on the correct position, so in the odd number area. And you hear that little sound playing. Also, you see that I have a score of 1 and I have an attempt of 1. Now, if I take an even number that I try to drop here in the odd number area, you see that my number is rejected. I have another sound playing. The number goes back to its original location. I have another attempt, but I haven't scored anything. So my score is 1 and I have 2 attempts. So I will not have the maximum amount of points here. Same thing for the even numbers. You see that I can take 14, drag it again to place it in the correct spot. So my score is 2 for 3 attempts. And again, if I take an odd number that I try to place here, again, it is rejected with that little sound. And I have scored an attempt, but I haven't increased my score in this instance. So let's play to the end. So let's put all the odd numbers up there. All right, we have 5, 9, 17, 7. What else? We have 15 here. And now for the even numbers. Okay, and here is my 20th attempt. So after this attempt is finished, you see that I have the end game message saying that I have scored 18 out of 20. What do I want to do next? Do I want to play another game? That is, of course, what I will do because I have to show you the addition game. You can also reset that game and play another part of that game. I am done playing means that you will simply exit the file. You will first go through the last slide of this project, the slide that says thanks for playing with us. Now in this case, I want to play another game, and I want to show you here the other game that we will do together, fun with additions. So here we have additions, 3 plus 4 equal. We have to type the answer here. So in this case, 7. I submit, and you hear that sound. You also see that I have 1 point here out of 10. And then I have another addition. 0 plus 2 is, in this case, 2. Then I have 2 points, and you see that the arrow here is going up because I have 2 points now. So I am starting to increase my score. And of course, the goal is to be here with the last smiley of this picture. So the dark green smiley here. Notice that if I fail, so if I provide the wrong answer, so 4 plus 3 is 7. Let's say that I type 5 here. You hear that sound again, and I do not score any points for that failed answer. So let's go to the end of the game here. 0 plus 1 is 1. You see that I have different addition each time I play. You also see that my score is increasing. So is that picture here. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 4 is 6. There we go. Then we have 2 here. And here I have made 1 mistake. So I have 9 out of 10. What do I want to do? I can play another game. I can restart that game to try to increase my score. Or I am done playing. This is what I will do now. And thanks for playing math games with us. That's the last slide of the project. So this is what we are going to do. So we have a lot to cover. And let's close here the end version of the game so that we go to the start version. Okay, so here in the start version of the file, I have placed everything that is what I would call basic Captivate. So we have here some basic images, some basic text captions, a few, here on the first slide, we have a few letters here and a button. If you take a look at the timeline, you see that there is an effect applied to these letters, and here the button that stops the playhead. So if I play this slide here, it's a very simple slide with just some timeline-based animation, so nothing fancy here. The second slide is also very easy. I have just a background image that I have found on Adobe Stock, and then I have this text. It's a basic shape with text in it, and those two elements here are two buttons. So if I go to the properties panel and take a look at the button here, you see that it's a shape that I use as a button, and the action is simply to jump to slide odd even, and the slide odd even is where we will define the first of the two games, so the games with odd and even numbers. Fun with addition, that takes the user to slide number 4. Slide number 4 is where we will define the additions game. And finally, we have a third button here, the exit button, which takes the player to the exit slide, which is the slide where we say thanks for playing with us. So nothing fancy here. Of course, we have those two slides here, odd, even, and additions. These two slides are where all the complexity of today will take place. All the game design and the game programming will take place. So let's start with the odd even. That's the first game that we will do. So here we have lots of visible elements. Alors this is just a shape. That is also a shape with another color. And the numbers that you have here, those numbers are pink images. If you go to the library, you will find here these images in the library. You see that some of those elements are not used currently. We have the loose sound here, that sound, and here we have the wind sound that I have already imported in the library, and we will use these sounds when we will build the interactions. Okay, so these are basically pictures. On the timeline, we have here one element that is currently hidden. You see that I have closed a little eye here. It's an element called group OE end game. So, and that is a group. So if I show the element, it's a group of items. So I have named that group here in the properties panel, GRP because it's a group, OE for odd even, and then end game because that is something that we will display at the end of the game. So here we have a little message and 3 buttons that will take the user to different locations in the project. You notice here that this particular element is not displayed by default. So when I select here the group, you see that it is not displayed by default. And I'm going to make sure that I don't modify anything here. All right, so I don't want to display that group. Okay, that's exactly what I want. And so I will also hide it on the timeline here, hide it within the Captivate interface. Now, the little eye that we have here in the timeline is something that we can use as a developer to show and hide things within the Captivate authoring environment. We have another eye here in the properties panel, and that is what defines if the object is visible in the output. So if the user sees that object when viewing the file. Okay, so this is the first element here. Let me just check my notes to make sure that I have not forgotten anything. I don't think I have. And so now we can start building this interaction by using the drag and drop interaction wizard. So I'm going to click here on interaction and then on drag and drop. All right. So the first step of the drag and drop interaction wizard is to select the drag sources. So the drag sources are all the numbers that we have here. Now be very careful because we will do it in a certain way. So here I'm going to select the odd numbers. So I will start with 1. You see that 1 is both selected, so those are the resize and the selection handles that we see, and 1 is also marked as a drag source, and that is the green outline that you have. Now I will, and that is very important, I will hold down the shift key of my keyboard and I will select the other odd numbers. So I have 1, I have 3, then I have 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 19. So those are all the odd numbers. You see that they are all selected. They have both the green outline, that means that they are marked as a drag source, and they all have the selection handles. Now, I will click the plus button here. You see add to type. I click the plus button, and the selected elements, the elements that are selected at the moment, are the odd numbers. So you see that I add the selected elements to the odd numbers types. Now I click outside of the slide just to make sure that I deselect everything. You see that they are still marked as drag sources, but they are not selected anymore. And I will do the same with even numbers. So I will start with 2, hold down the shift key, very important, and add the other even numbers. So 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, then 14, 16, 18, and 20. And I will click the little plus again and add these to the even numbers. All right. So I have two groups of numbers. You see that I have the odd numbers and the even numbers. And that's it for the first step of the drag and drop interaction wizard. So I click the next button here. The second step is to mark the drop targets. So the drop targets are these two shapes here, the odd numbers and the even numbers area. And then I click the next button again to go to the step 3 of the wizard. And the last step is to match the drag sources with the drop targets. So here I'm going to take only one odd number, let's say 19, for example. And I will take that icon in the middle, drag and drop it on the middle here. And you can see that all the drag sources that are in the odd numbers category type are automatically mapped to that first drop target area. I will do the same with any one of the even numbers, drag it to the other area, and you can see that Captivate here maps everything else to the right area. So this is a first benefit of using drop target or drag sources, in this case, types. Okay, so let's click the finish button. That is the drag and drop interaction wizard. Now we have to to add a few options to the drag and drop interaction. And to do that, we need to go to the drag and drop panel. You see that we have an extra panel here because we have a drag and drop interaction defined on this slide. So on the drag and drop panel, I go to the actions panel here, and I will change the action to no action. I don't want to trigger any built-in action. I want to create my own actions. So I will replace the built-in drag and drop actions by my actions that I will define with advanced actions later in this session. I will also deselect the failure and the success captions. I don't need that. I will have my own feedback system. And I want also to move the submit button to the scrap area. So that way the submit button will not be displayed to the user. I have to do that because I don't have any checkbox here to remove that submit button. Okay, so that is a workaround to make sure that it is not displayed to the learner. Okay, so here we have the drag and drop interaction. Let's take a quick look in the browser to see how it works at the moment. All right. Okay, so here I go to slide number 3, and if I drag the numbers, you see that the numbers, when I drag them, they are stacked on top of each other. So that is one thing that I need to do. Also, if I fail, if I put an odd number here in the even area, you see that the number is currently accepted. Same thing if I take an even number and I put it in the odd numbers area, it is currently accepted. So I need to change all this. So let's go back to Captivate. And here I'm going to select the drop target here. So the odd numbers drop target. And in the drag and drop panel, I go to the Format tab, and I will change the snap behavior. You see that the position here is anchor, and as you saw, the different elements are anchored in the middle of the drop target. I don't want that. I want to tile these elements, and I want to tile them this way, like this. And I also will reduce the size to, let's say, 70% here. And I will do the same for the other drop target. So I select the other drop target. I change to tile. I take the first tile in here and I change the size to, let's say, 70%. Okay. So let's test again and see how that affects the drag and drop interaction that we have created. All right. So here, slide 2, slide 3. So there we go. So now if I take the numbers, you see that they are tiled. They are not stacked on top of each other anymore. And you see that the size of these numbers is slightly reduced when I let go, when I drop the element. At the moment, if I put an even number in the odd numbers area, it's still accepted. So we have not solved that problem yet. Same thing with the even numbers. You see that when I place the numbers here, they are tiled. But if I take an odd number in the even number area, it is currently accepted. We will solve that issue later. Don't worry about that. So now let's go back to Captivate. Because we need to add a few more elements here in the score and the attempts section here of the page. So to do that, we need to create two variables, one that will keep track of the score and one that will keep track of the number of attempts. So let's go to Project Variables. And I want to create two, of course, users variables. So I click the Add New button. And the first variable, I will name it vGiven answers. So that's the number of attempts, and the value is equal to 0 at the beginning of the project. It will evolve as the project goes, but when we start playing, the value is 0. And I click the Save button to save this this variable. I click Add New again, and I create the vScore variable, which is equal to 0 at the beginning of the game as well. And I save that variable as well. Okay, so I close the variables dialog. Now I need to show the value of these variables here in this section of the page. So I'm going to create a text caption. All right. It's going to be a transparent caption. And inside of that transparent caption, I will remove the default text, and I will click this icon here, which is the insert variable icon, which is in the timing in the properties panel, in the style tab of the properties panel. And here I decide to insert in that text area a user variable. The user variable is the score variable, and because the score will be between 1 and 20 in this case, the length of this variable is only 2 characters. Okay, with 2 characters I will have enough to display the score. And so here is my text caption that I will place here under the your score title. All right, so let's duplicate that. So right click, duplicate. So that is a little trick that I use all the time so that I have the same here, the same size. I have a second text caption of the same size. I will double click in that second text caption, remove the score variable, and add, I think you guessed it, the given answers variable. And also here 2 characters will be enough because we have a maximum of 20 attempts. All right, so that is done now. Let me go through my notes. Okay. All right, so now we are going to enter into the real stuff. We need to create the actions that Captivate will have to execute when we drop elements either on top of the odd numbers area or even numbers area. So let's go to Project Advanced Actions. Okay, and I will create a first advanced action that I will call process odd even and then right. So when I give the right answer, odd even right answer. Let's do it that way, or maybe add an underscore here, depending on how you want to read that. Yeah, that is easier to read here. Okay, so if I give the right answer, what do I have to do? I need to increment the given answers variable by 1 because I have made an extra attempt. I also need to increment the score by 1 because it is a correct answer. So increment the score variable. Oops, that's not the right one. The score variable by 1, like that. I also want to play a sound. So I'm going to play a sound, to play audio. Then I double click here on the button, select an audio file, and I will select the WIN file, which I had already imported in my library. Okay, so that is what I want to do when I give the correct answer. Okay. Now for the wrong, so I'm going to save that as an action. There we go. Okay. Now for the wrong answer, it's almost the same. So I'm going to duplicate that action. Okay. I will change the name. It's not going to be the duplicate of process blah blah blah. It's going to be process odd even wrong. All right. And for that action, I need to increment the given answers by 1 because I have made an attempt. I don't need to increment the score, so I select here the second line and I click the remove button to remove that action. And for the audio, I need to play the other audio file, which is the lose.wave, which is also present here in my library. So I change the file to lose and I update that action. Okay, so I have my 2 actions. I have process odd even the right when I give the right answer, and here when I give the wrong answer. So those are the 2 actions that I need right now. So now, when do we want to trigger those actions? When do we want to execute these actions? Well, we want to execute these actions when we drop something on top of these 2 areas. So let's select here the first, the odd number drop target. And in the drag and drop panel, you go to the Format tab and you have here a button called Object Actions. So make sure that you have selected here the top element. So I click Object Actions, and here you see that this area can accept both the odd numbers and the even numbers. Remember that these two things here, odd numbers and even numbers, are the two types of drag sources that we have created when you doing the drag and drop interaction wizard. You see that there is no action currently associated with these elements. So here I am in the odd numbers area. So if I put an odd number on the odd number area, I'm giving the right answer. So here I click the no action. And instead, I change that to execute advanced action. And I want to execute the right advanced action because I drop an odd number on top of the odd number drop target. If I drop an even number here, I need to execute the other action, advanced action. So that's the wrong action here. And I click OK and then OK. Now for the other drop target, it's exactly the same, but with the other actions. So I select the other drop target. I click Object Actions. So that is the even number target. So when I drop an odd number here, I need to execute the wrong action. Execute advanced action, not shared action. That's something else. And so in this case, it's the wrong action. And here, I execute an advanced action, and that is going to be the right action. All right, so let's OK. Let's save that, and let's test it out. So I go HTML5 in browser. OK. So play the file. I go directly to the third slide. OK, so let's drop an odd number in the odd number area. Yeah, it works. You see that we have the sound, we have increased the score, and we have one attempt. Let's drop an even number in the odd number area. So we have the other sound, we have an extra attempt here, but we didn't score anything. So far, so good. Notice that at this moment, the even number here is still accepted by the odd number drop target. That is something we still have to review. Now let's add an even number to the second drop target. It works. We have a third attempt and we have scored an extra point. And if we drag and drop an odd number on the even number target, then we have the other audio. We have an extra attempt, but we don't have an extra point. So far so good. Everything works. The actions are in place. We have a few more things to do. First, I'm going to change the text here. I'm going to add /20 just to show how many attempts I have out of 20. And we also have to send the even number that we drop here on top of this drop target back to its original place. Same thing here if we drop an odd number on the even number target. Now, unfortunately, that is something that we cannot do out of the box. We need to use JavaScript for that. And even worse, we need to use an undocumented JavaScript feature of Adobe Captivate. So fortunately, I have already written the code for you. So if you go to the download associated with this session, you're going to have a JS folder. And in the JS folder, you will find a reset drag and drop.js file. You can open that file using any text editor. So I will open it with, for example, with a Notepad here on Windows. In my case, I have already opened it using a code editor, which is VS Code. And here is the code. So we just have 2 lines of code. If you are into JavaScript, the first line of code is used to get the current drag and drop interaction. And the second line of code is used to trigger the undo action. So let's select those 2 lines of code. Make sure that you select everything, including the semicolon at the end here. So I'm going to copy that code, okay, and then go back to Captivate. And here in Captivate, I need to return to my advanced actions. And I will take here in the drop-down list the wrong process, odd, even, wrong action. Because when it is wrong, I need to increment the number of attempts. I need to play the loose sound, but I also need to execute some JavaScript. Okay, so execute JavaScript. Then I click on the script window button, and here you simply paste the 2 lines of code. So that is what will undo the last action and send the number that you have dropped on the wrong target back to its original location. You click on OK. And finally here, you need to select the window on which the JavaScript will be executed, and you make sure you select the current window here. All right, so this is how you change the action. You click here the update action. All right, script updated successfully, cool. Now I close this window and give it another try in the browser. Okay. All right. So what do we have here? We go straight to slide number 3 to test it out. So if I take an odd number to the odd area, it still works as expected. If I take an even number in the odd area, you see that now my JavaScript is executed and it sends the number back to its original location. Now notice that there is one more little bug, because the number 14 here, I cannot take it a second time, so I cannot redrag it. Captivate considers that we have already moved that element. So, oh yeah, now we can. So you see that sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. Just to make sure that it all works as expected, let's go back to Captivate, to the drag and drop panel here. And here in the options tab of the drag and drop panel, you must select here the redirect the dropped sources, just to make very obvious that we can take the same picture a second time if we fail, if you want to drag and drop it again. So now let's preview it one more time in the browser and to see how that works. Okay, it should be okay now. So let's go straight to slide number 3. So let's take an odd number here. It works. Let's take an even number here. That works. Let's take an odd number on the even target. It is sent back to its original location, but now I can redrag it without any issue. So that's cool. It works as expected. Let's try with an even number here in the odd number area. It is rejected, that's correct, and we can redrag it directly to place it on the other element. So the game is starting to take shape. Let's go to the end. So let's go to 20 attempts here. So, all right, 7, 17. Let's go to this. Okay. 5 goes here. Okay, you see here that I have reached 20 attempts, but I don't see my final message. And I can actually keep going. I can have 21 out of 20 attempts. So we need now to take care of the end of the game. And you see here that the second line is a little weird. So let's go back to Captivate. I'm going to change that right away. So I want to let's say 50% here, so that it will be we will have enough place to have 2 rows of items in these areas. And finally, we have to go back to our actions here, so advanced action, because I'm going to take here my right action first. Okay, and you see I have different tabs up here. We call them decisions. So here in the first tab, let's change the name of this tab to process answer. This is not mandatory, but it makes it easier for you to read your advanced action after the fact. And here I'm going to take a second decision, and I will name it show end message. Voila. And that's going to be a conditional decision. And here I want to check, so I double click here in that first area. I want to check if the variable given answer, so the number of attempts, is equal to the literal 20. And if that is true, I need to show my group odd even end game. So that is the name of that group. So I'm going to update this action. There we go. And I will repeat that for the wrong action. So here, let's name it process answer, like that. Let's go to the other tab, show end message. Remember that naming this tab, naming these decisions here is not mandatory. It's just a best practice for you to be able to read your advanced action when you have to create it again or to update it. And here again, I want to check if the variable given answers is equal to the literal 20. And if it is, then I want to show my group endgame. All right. Update action. There we go. So now let's take another look at the endgame group. So let's go to the timeline here. Go up the timeline. Okay, and I'm going to show that group. So I click the little cross here just to make sure that the group is visible in the Captivate interface. Okay, so it is a group. So when I click the group once, I select the whole group, which contains several different items. When I select an item a second time here, then I select only that element inside of the group. So here I'm going to add using the, okay, so here you see that we have a little problem with the characters section of the properties panel. So we don't have access to the button that we need, but that's not a big issue because we will simply type here $vScore, $, and that will add the current value of that score variable. So you scored your score out of 20. Okay, so I changed that message here. Now regarding the buttons, I will say I want to play another game. So let's first click outside of this element to deselect, then click the group again, click the button. When the user clicks that button, I want to play another game. I need to send the user, so I need to jump to the choose game slide. So I'm going back to slide number 2 here. If I click the I'm done playing button, then I want to jump to the exit slide. So let's go here to the exit slide, like that. Now, when I want to play the same game again, basically I need to reset the drag and drop interaction. Now, there is a possibility to do that in JavaScript using another undocumented JavaScript feature. So because it is undocumented and because we have another way to do it, which is much easier, let's go to the easy way. The easy way, the little workaround here is to create an extra slide. So I'm going here to slide number 2, and I will create a blank slide, an extra slide. Then I go to the library panel, and I'm going to add here the slide background number 3, which is the same background image that I use on the odd even slide. And I'm going to place that image correctly. So when I select the picture, I go to my properties panel, then to the options tab, and I put an X position of 0 and a Y position of 0. So that way I make sure that the picture is exactly on top of the slide. I also select here the lock size and position, so I make sure that I don't accidentally move this image. And finally, I go back to the Style tab here. I click the Edit Image button, and I change the alpha to 50, so the image will be semi-transparent, 50% transparent, 50% opaque. So I have basically the same background for the odd even slide. Now here is the trick. I go to the timeline, and I will simply reduce the duration of the slide to, let's say, 1 or 2/10 of a second. So this is going to be very brief, okay, to show. I will name the slide Reset DD for Reset Drag and Drop. And now I go back to my odd even slide here. Select my button. So I need to click once to select the group, a second time to select the button. And when I click this button, I want to jump to the slide Reset Drag and Drop. So that is going to reset the drag and drop interaction to put all the numbers that we have placed here in the odd and the even drop targets back to their original location. So let's test it out. So I'm going to preview my game again. Okay. And I'm going straight to slide number 3, 2 and 3. There we go. So here is my drag and drop. So let's play the game. I'm going to take all the odd numbers here. 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 is already there. 13, 15, 17, and 19 is already there, and everything else goes to the even numbers. There we go. So now I have the end message playing. I will click the I want to play the same game again. So I will be brought back to the reset slide. And okay, so you see that it works. We have the drag and drop interaction has been reset, but we have forgotten a few things. We also need to hide that end game message. Notice that the score here is still 20 and the number of attempts is also 20. So we need to reset these elements too. Okay, so let's go back to Captivate. We need another advanced action for that. So I go to Project Advanced Action, and I'm going to create an action that I will call Setup Odd Even, like that. And this action will just reset everything to 0. So I want to assign my score variable with the literal 0. So that is what will put the score back to 0. I also want to assign the given answers variable, so the number of attempts, back to 0. So basically I start over. And I also want to hide my group odd even end game. So that is the message. I want to hide it. So those are the 3 actions I need to completely reset the game. I save this as an action. There we go. And I want the action to be triggered when I enter slide number 4. Okay, so here I select slide number 4. I go to the properties panel of slide number 4, and then I go here to the actions tab, and here you have two events that you can assign an action to, the on-enter event or the on-exit event. And when I enter the slide, I want to execute an advanced action, and that's going to be the setup odd even. And normally my odd even action, my odd even game here is finished. So let's save that to make sure that we keep everything in place in case we have a crash or something, some kind of disaster. All right, and let's go here. All right, so we have that. Let's go straight to slide to the game. There we go. So let's play the game one last time. So that works, that works. Let's try with a wrong answer. Yes, it works. So let's try with a wrong answer here. It works too. All right, so everything works as expected. Okay. Oops, that was by accident. All right. Okay, so I have made 3 mistakes. If I want to play the same game again, you see that now it works. My score is back to 0. My end message is hidden again. And I can start playing my game a second time, trying to beat my score. Okay, so that is for the first of the 2 games. I hope you liked it. Now let's switch to the additions game here. So these are the elements that I have. So this is an SVG image. That equal sign is also an SVG image. So far so good. This is a simple shape, a rectangle. And this is a submit button, and currently it has the default go to the next slide action. So to set up this second game, we need to have here the numbers. So the numbers that we want to add. So let's go to the library panel. Okay. And in the library, I have those ping files, those PNG files for the different numbers. So let's take the 0 number here, and I will place that on my slide. So it's way too big, so I'm going to resize it. So to resize it, I use a corner handle, and I hold down the shift key of my keyboard just to make sure that I don't accidentally change the ratio here. So I just resize the picture, but I don't distort it. All right, so that is an image. Now this image will be involved in an interaction. So in the properties panel, I will give it a name. I will name it IMG because it's an image, and then num1. It's the first number of my addition, and make sure that you hit the enter key to validate that name. All right, the trick to have different numbers here, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, is to use multi-state objects. So let's select here this element. I click the state view. So here I am in the state view, and I'm going to create a new state. I will call it 1. 1 in letters because you cannot start the name of a state with a number. That is a little limitation of Captivate. So I write 1 here in plain text. And in this state, I select my image, go to the Properties panel, here in the Style tab of the Properties panel, and you click the button where it says 0.png. 0.png is the name of the image. Okay, I will click that button. And then I will choose another image in my library. I will choose 1 here. Okay, so in the 1 state, I will display that picture instead. Now I create another state. I will name it 2. All right. And I change the image again. I will take my 2.png file. There we go. And I do the same thing for the other state. So I need 3. I change the picture in state number 3. I want to use the picture, that one, the 3 picture. Then I have 4. All right. That's that one. And the final state is 5. I click OK. And in the 5 state, I want to display the 5.png file. Okay, so now I click the exist state button up here, and I have all these states here, and depending on the state that I choose, I display the corresponding number. Okay, so I need 2 of these elements. So because it's a little bit tedious to do, I'm just going to right click that object and duplicate it. There we go. I will place that object here. And I will simply change its name. So in this case, the second object will be imgnum2. So those are my two numbers. Okay. So all right, let me check my notes. Okay, that's it. So now we must make sure that we must choose 2 random numbers, and depending on so between 0 and 5, and depending on the number that is randomly chosen, we have to put these objects to the correct state. Okay, so let's save first. That of course is the goal, not the goal, it's the responsibility of an action. And to choose a random number, we will need JavaScript again. So let's go to your file system. You have here another JavaScript file, randomnumber.js. It's part of the package that that you can download with this session. Again, you're going to right-click and open this file using a text editor. So using, for example, here on Windows, Notepad, or using TextEdit if you are on a Mac. I have already opened that file here in a code editor, which is VS Code here. So this is the code that we need. So it is a JavaScript function. If you're not into JavaScript, don't worry. The only thing that you must remember is the name of the function. The name of the function is random number with a capital N. So be very careful about the casing when you are using JavaScript. JavaScript is very picky about with the casing of the elements. So here, random number without any spaces and with a capital N. That's the name of the function. And the second thing that you must remember is that this function takes in 3 arguments. The first one is a captivate variable. It's the name of the captivate variable that the chosen random number will be sent to. So basically this function will choose a random number and make it the value of a captivate variable. So here you tell which captivate variable you want to use inside of captivate to retrieve that random number. The second argument is the min num. So it's between what and what number. So here between 0 and 10 we will choose a random number by default between 0 and 10, but we can change that. In our case we will need between 0 and 5. Okay, so let's select that whole thing including the ending curly brace here at the end, and you Control C or right click copy that code and go back into Captivate. Now, inside of Captivate, we need to create 2 more variables, the 2 variables that we will need to have access to those random numbers. So let's go to Project, Variables, and I want to create a new user variable. It's going to be the vrandom1 variable, which is equal to 0 by default. Then I save, and I add a new variable again, which is going to be the vrandom2 variable, which is also going to have a value of 0 by default. By the way, the default value here is really not important because we are going to change that value using a script anyway. So that is just the initial value of the variable, and it's really nothing to worry about. You can type anything, or you can even leave it blank if you want to. All right, so I have my 2 variables here, and now I go to Project Advanced Actions. And I'm going to create my setup additions actions. Okay, so what do I have to do when I set up my additions? I have to choose 2 random numbers. So the first thing that I will do here is that I want to execute some JavaScript. So I need to execute some JavaScript. I clicked the script window, and I will simply paste in here my function. Remember, my function is called random number. Now, below the function, I want to execute it. I want to execute it 2 times. So I need to write random number. Remember that so that's the name of the function. Remember, there is no space and a capital N. And then it takes in 3 arguments. The first one is the variable. And here, because the name of the variable is a string of text, the JavaScript needs quotes. So I'm using single quotes here, and in between the quotes, I will add vrand1. And that's the variable that we just created, which is equal to 0 by default. But here we are going to give this variable a new value between 0 and 5, okay? Which is the random number that JavaScript will choose. And don't forget the semicolon here at the end, okay? Then I will copy that a second time to give a value to the rand2 variable. So this is the function that does the magic. And here we have 2 lines of code that we add here. This line to execute the function once, a first time. That function will choose a number between 0 and 5, and it will make it the value of the vrand1 variable within Captivate. Then we execute the function a second time. We choose another number with between 0 and 5, and we make it the value of the vrand2 variable. All right, so let's click the OK button here, and we want that to execute in the current window. Okay? Now, I am also going to, so here I'm going to name that tab, Setup Variables. All right. So here we have 2 random numbers. Now, the other part of what we have to do is to place the 2 images to the correct state, depending on the 2 random numbers that have been generated. So I will need extra decisions for that. And here I'm going to take care of my image or my number 1 when the first random number is 0. So a conditional tab, and I say if the rand1 variable is equal to 0. So basically here I don't know the value of rand1 and rand2. It can be either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Okay, so we have 6 possible values for rand1 and 6 possible values for rand2. And I don't know which one will be picked by the JavaScript. So here I say that if the first of these two random numbers is 0, I want to change the state of my first image to the normal state. So that is the state that is here. Okay. Now I'm going to duplicate that tab. So I click this icon here to duplicate the decision. I change the name here. I will name it image11. If the random number 1 is equal to 1, remember that I don't know which number will be picked by the JavaScript. If it is 1, I want to change the state of that image to 1. I duplicate again. And now I want to check if the value is not 2. So if the value picked by the JavaScript is 2, I need to put that first image to state number 2. And I do that for the other states as well. So here for state number 3. So if the number that has been picked by JavaScript is 3, I want to switch to state number 3. Same thing here. If the random number is equal to 4, I want to change to 4. And if the random number is equal to 5, that's the final one for image 1. So it's a literal 5. I need to change to state number 5. There we go. Now I need to duplicate it again because I need to do that same thing for image number 2. So now when the second random number is 0, so if the second random number, so the variable rand2, which can also be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 4 or 5. So if it's equal to 0, so if that is the value randomly picked by the JavaScript, then I need to change the state of the second image to normal. All right, and then we do the same thing for the second image. It's a little bit tedious, but that is what will make all the magic here. So if it's equal to 1, then I need to go to state number 1, duplicate that again. If it's equal to 2, literal 2, then I need to go to state number 2. All right, if it's equal to 3, oops, so here I need to select a variable and then double click again to go to literal. So I am on the 3 and I need to go to state number 3. All right, so here is for value number 4. So if the random number 2 is equal to 4, I need to go to state number 4. And finally, if the second random number is equal to 5, variable literal 5, then I need to go to state number 5. Okay, I think that's it. So let's save that gigantic action here. All right, script says successfully. That's always a good news. And well, when that is done, that action needs to be executed when I enter slide number 5. So here I am selecting slide number 5, go to the properties panel, and in the actions tab on enter, I want to execute an advanced action. Come on, Captivate, there we go. And I want to set up my additions game. So to choose two random numbers and to place here the correct state. So let's save that. And let's take a look in the browser if that is working. Okay. All right, so let's go to slide number Okay, so you see here I have 2 and 1. If I go back and then re-enter that slide, I have 2 other numbers. Back and re-enter the slide, I have other numbers. So each time I enter the slide, I execute my action. I pick 2 numbers between 0 and 5 randomly, and I assign and I change the state of the 2 images here to the corresponding state, depending on which random number has been chosen. Okay, so now for this second game, I also need an extra variable. So let's go to project variable. And that variable, I will add a new variable. It's going to be the v dot, it's going to be the correct answer variable. And I will make it equal to 0 by default. And I also need the my answer variable. So the my answer variable is the response, the answer given by the player, and the correct answer variable is the expected answer. Okay, so I have 2 additional variables here: correct answer and my answer. All right, so now let's return to project advanced actions. I'm going to take my setup odd even, because setup additions. We are configuring the second game now. So right after I choose my two random numbers, I want to use an expression here. So I will take the expression. Where is expression? There it is. Because I want to change the value of my correct answer variable, so it is equal to the variable random number 1 plus the variable random number 2. So basically, I choose 2 numbers randomly using the JavaScript. Then I add those 2 randomly chosen numbers to give a value to the correct answer variable. And that represents the answer that I am expecting. Okay? So now I click the update action. All right? And we will have to go back to that action later, but for now we can close this particular action. All right, so now we have 2 numbers that we randomly choose. Now the player needs to give us an answer. So for that, we need to add a text entry box. So I'm going to add a text entry box here. Okay, I will place my text entry box here like that. There we go. And I will give this text entry box a few properties here in the properties panel. So first of all, in the style tab, make sure that the show text box frame is deselected. I believe it is selected by default. So make sure it is deselected. Password field is deselected. Validate user input is deselected as well. Alors, here is an important step. The associated variable. We are going to choose here the my answer. It means that the value of the my answer variable will be equal to whatever number the player types here in the text entry box. Okay? Now, below here in the style tab, I want to change the opacity to 0. And I also want to increase the font size to 48 and to change the color of the font to some kind of blue here. All right, so that is just some cosmetic changes. The most important aspect here is to make sure that you assign the correct variable. So here, the value of the my answer variable will be equal to whatever the user types here in the text entry box. Now, I switch to the Actions tab because I want to make sure that there is no special action playing. I don't want to use any out-of-the-box action here. I will define my own actions. And I also don't want to assign any shortcuts. Okay, so I basically disable all the automatic built-in actions of Adobe Captivate so I can replace them with my own. Okay, all right. Now I want to go back to the project to create an advanced action. And that is the advanced action that will be triggered when we will click the submit button. Okay, so advanced action. And I will name that one process addition. All right, process addition. Okay, so to process the addition, I won't create that action. I will take my setup additions action. There we go. So I won't have to recreate all these actions because that was a little bit tedious. And I will duplicate that action. So I will click this icon here to duplicate this action. All right. And here I will change the name. I won't call it duplicate of setup additions. I will name it process addition, like that. All right. So when I process the addition, so when the user clicks the submit button, all right. So here I will create one extra tab that I will place at the very beginning, okay? And I will name that tab check answer, okay? Check answer. And it's going to be a conditional tab. So if the variable my answer, which is the answer provided by the learner, is equal to the variable correct answer, which is the expected answer, what do I have to do? Well, I have to increment the score. I have to increment the score variable by 1. Okay. And I have to play an audio file. It's going to be the win audio. There we go. And I also want to increment the given answers by 1. Okay. And that makes me worried about the fact that we have forgotten to reset the score and the given answers in the setup process. We will do that right after. Okay, so if the answer is equal to the correct answer, then I increment the score, the given answer, and I play a sound. If it is not equal, so if the user provides the wrong answer, then I need to increment the attempts, the given answers by 1. I don't increment the score because it's a wrong answer, and I play an audio file, and the audio file that I will play is the lose file in this case. All right, so I'm going to update that action here. Okay, let me just check my note. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my setup addition. So remember, this is the action that is played when we enter the slide. So here we need to choose numbers. Okay, we also need to assign the score with 0. So we want to make sure that the score is at 0. And we want to make sure also to assign the number of attempts with 0 as well. So given answers with literal 0. Okay. All right. And we update that action. Okay. So that is, now I think it's correct. Now I will go back to my process addition. So remember, this is the action that will be triggered when I click the submit button. So when the user submits the answer, we check if it's the correct answer. If it's the correct answer, we increment the score, we play the audio file, and we increment the given answer by 1. And I will place it above because that makes more sense to me this way. And if it's the wrong answer, I simply increment the given answer by 1 and I play the lose score. Now I need an extra tab here after the check answer. So like that. And here I want to make sure that the game is not finished. So I'm going to call this tab show end game, because it's a conditional tab. If the given answers variable, so the number of attempts, is equal to 10 in this case, there we go, then I need to show, where is the show action? I think there we go. I need to show the AND addition group, okay? So that is another important step here. So what's going on when I click the submit button? I check if it's the correct answer. If it is, I increment the score, play the file, and so on. If it is not the correct answer, I play the lose file and I increment the given answer by 1. Then I check if the number of attempts is equal to 10. If it is, the game is finished, and I need to show this the group with the options that will be displayed at the end of the game. Now, after that, I want to set up the next addition, the next equation. Okay, so I need to choose 2 new random numbers. I need to change the value of the correct answer to the new correct answer that is expected. And here I have all these tabs here. They are all listed here that I use basically to show the new random numbers. So let's update this action. All right. And let's close the tab here. And I want this action to be triggered when I click the submit button. So here when I click submit, action, execute an advanced action. There we go. And I want the process addition action. All right, so let's save the file here and preview in the browser. Okay, so I will go straight to fun with additions. Okay, 3 plus 2. If I provide the correct answer, I have the correct sound. 1 plus 2, 3. I have the correct sound. If I provide the wrong answer, 1 plus 4, let's say that I write 7 here, or 8, it's the wrong answer. So I have the other sound. That's correct. 1 plus 4 is 5. Let's go to the end of the game. 1 plus 3 is 4. So I need to give 10 answers. 2 plus 1 is 3. 4 plus 4 is 8. 0 plus 2 is 2. And here I have my end message. So I have given 10 answers. You see that I have a small problem here with the number that is above the end message. So let's go back to Captivate. First, let's go to the timeline, and let's make sure that the group here, the end addition group, which is hidden here, is on top of everything, so that when it is displayed, it's displayed on top of everything else. Let's also add the score here. So $vscore $, to show the score to the learner. And here, what are the different options when the user? So I want to play another game. What should I do here? Well, I should simply execute an advanced action. I want to execute the setup additions action again. So I reset the score to 0. I reset the attempts to 0. I choose 2 new random numbers, and the game starts again. Oh, no. That's the other button here. I want to play the same game again. So that is execute advanced action. Sorry for the confusion here. It's the setup addition. When I click there, I want to play another game. I need to jump to the slide number 2, where I can choose the game I want to play. And if I click the I'm done playing, I want to jump to slide number... You know what happens is because the jump to slide action here, it's just below the assets panel. So that is a little bug in Captivate's interface. So jump to slide number 6 to exit when I'm done playing. Okay, so should be okay. Let's test it out. Let's then test it out one more time. So let's preview in the browser. All right. So I'm going to play my additions game. So that's 1 addition. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, and that's the 10th addition. I scored 10 out of 10, and if I want to play the same game again, okay, so you see my score has been reset, but I've forgotten one thing. I need to hide that that ending message. So let's go back to Captivate. I have a few more things to do in my setup actions, additions, advanced actions. So go to Project Advanced Action, and here I will take my setup additions action. Okay, it's a big action, so it takes time to load. And when I set up the different variables, I also need to make sure that I hide my end addition group. So normally that is now fine. All right. Let's close that box, because we have one more thing to complete here, is to show the score of this addition game here on the slide. So let's go back to the timeline to hide that group so that it is not in the way. There we go. And I'm going to add a text caption. It's going to be a transparent caption. And in the transparent caption, I want to display, there we go. I want to display the score variable. Okay. And the score in this case is out of 10. Okay, so that's the score. But in addition to simply displaying the score, I also want that mood board. Okay, remember, if I go to my library here, I have here in the SVG section, I have, remember these images, SVG images. It's always the same image. The only change is the arrow pointing to different smileys here. You see, I have different version here of the same image with the arrow pointing at different smileys. So let's take the first one, 0 to 2. So I place that on the slide. Okay, I wait for the picture to be, there we go. So it's a very, very big picture. So let's select the picture, go to the properties panel here. I want to fit to stage. All right, so the picture can be, is completely visible here, and then I will resize it like that and move it here, put it in place. Okay, so, and I will give it a name. So that's my IMG, let's say score feedback, something like that. Score, not score. S-C-O-R-E, there we go. It's the end of the session. I'm getting tired. Okay, the score feedback image. Once again, I will need different states for this. So I select my image, go to the states view. All right. And I'm going to add a state that I will name score, score like that, 3 and 4. Okay. And if the score is 3 and 4, I want to use that image instead with the arrow pointing to the second smiley. Then I want the score 5 and 6. And here I need yet another image, which is the 5 and 6 here. There we go. I need 2 more states. The score 5, 6, 7, and 8. Like that. 7, 8. And the final state here is going to be the score 9 and 10. Okay. And I need that final image here. 9 and 10 is going there. Okay. So let's exit state and save. All right. And now to make it work, I need to go back to my advanced actions. I need to go back to my process addition action. There we go. So remember, it is the action that is executed when I click the submit button. So here I check the answer. So basically the score can evolve here in that first tab. So what I need to do, show end game. Okay, after that, so I'm going to add one more decision here. I need to show the score if the score is between 0 and 2. Okay, so I have a conditional tab here. If the score variable is equal to 0, or if the score variable is equal to 1, or if the score variable is equal to 2, in that case, I need to change the state of my feedback image to normal, okay? And you see that this decision here comes after the check answer, because here the score is incremented. So we need to test it against the new score. So that's why it needs to come after the check answer. Just make sure that you select here any of the condition is true. So we need a or. If any one of these conditions is true, then we need to show the normal state. Now let's duplicate that for score 3 and 4. So I need only 2 conditions here. If the score is equal to 3, to the little 3, or to the literal 4, then I need to go to the 3, 4 state of that image. I duplicate again. Now I have for 5 and 6. So if the score is equal to 5 or the score is equal to 6, then I go to score 5, 6, like that. And finally, 6, 7, 8. So no, that's not finally. I will have one more tab after that one. So here is for 7 and 8. I go to 7, 8, and now is the final one. It's for scores 9 and 10. So I need to change that to 9 and this to 10. And in this case, I go to that score. So that is quite of a big action here. So here we check the answer, we increase the score, we check if we need to show the end of the game. Then we have those tabs here that will change the state of the score image. And then after that, we set up the next addition. So we choose 2 new numbers, we change the correct answer, and so on. So let's update that action. Okay. Now there is one more thing to do in the setup addition action. Setup additions, because when we set up the game, when we start a new game here, we need to make sure that the state of the score image is back to normal for the beginning of the game. And I think that if we didn't make any mistake in the action, I think we nailed it, basically. I think we are done. So let's check this out. Preview HTML5 in browser. Okay, so let's play. Let's go to the addition. So we see the score here. 2 plus 3 is 5. 1, that is 5 again. 4 plus 0 is 4. Yes, you see that my mood board is evolving here. We have 3, so we go to the correct. So 3 plus 1 is 4, 0 plus 0, that's 0. Okay, it's moving. Let's make a mistake. Okay, the score does not move, that's correct. 1 plus 0 is 1. That is 5. Okay, that is 6. That is 4. And yes, the score is here at the top. The only problem we have here is that the image is at the top of the, so it's above the message. So let's click the I'm done playing here. So that is one last little thing to change here. So let's make sure that the group here is at the very top of the stack, like that. And finally, in Project Skin Editor, let's remove that default playback controls bar. We don't need it anymore. We save, and I think this is the final version of our little games. So quite a few advanced actions involved here, a little bit of JavaScript as well. Yeah, sorry if it was a bit fast. Hopefully you will be able to see the recording and to recreate to redo all these actions with the files while watching the recording that you can pause. So here is the odd and even numbers. Let's go to the end of that one. Still working as expected. Yes. We have that is an even number. Okay, let's make a mistake just to make sure that it still works. Yes, everything works as expected. I want to play another game. Let's go to the additions game. And here we go. We have the additions game. And well, now our learners can have fun, can learn math. Let's make a mistake here. It still works as well. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay. Let's experiment one more thing here. Okay, I'm going to the end. Okay, if I want to play the same game again, yes, it goes back to 0. It goes back to its original state here, and we have a new game that begins. So that is correct as well. Okay, so we have reached the end. The game is working. All right, so let's go back here to the PowerPoint slide. So from the current slide, so in this session we have created 2 games. You see that we used some images that are appealing to younger students. I have picked those images on Adobe Stock. We have created advanced interactions using the drag and drop interaction wizards. We have also used quite extensively advanced actions and even a little bit of JavaScript and variables in Captivate. We have used JavaScript to add randomness. We have 2 audio files for feedback. And we hope that the navigation within the game is quite easy so that the learners can play directly. They don't have to learn the game itself before they can play. Thanks a lot for your attention. I'm Damien. I hope you enjoyed this session, and you can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me on my website, want2learn.online. And well, I hope you liked the session, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you either on LinkedIn, on my website, or during the rest of the event. Have a nice eLearning World 2021, and thanks again for your attention.